Well, the thing with sports too is that everybody's like, "Oh, you shouldn't get so upset about sports," but I think that it's more than just, I like Jonathan Haidt, the psychologist at NYU, and he always talks about how sports are kind of like fill our psychological need for warfare or something, like this
Yeah,
real,
I've heard that. Yeah.
yeah. And there's probably some truth to that, but I think it's more than that too. I think that you said there's the community aspect to it. There's rooting for the
Right.
home team. Or
Right.
your local college, because I know in the South, there's like, before the pro sports leagues were a big thing, it was your college team or your high school teams, or especially in Texas there. I remember going through Texas, and a lot of those small towns in Texas, you'll see these high school football stadiums, Friday Night Lights style,
Oh
where you see
yeah.
the high
Oh
school
yeah.
football stadiums that look like college stadiums or something, like
Yeah.
these huge stadiums that are so extravagant that I'm like, yeah, like, and the entire community, people talk about this with the Packers and stuff like that, with kind of how the entire community, the entire town is really supportive. Like you see this. What do you think about that? Like in terms of like teams being sold. I live in Vegas, and we're kind of poaching teams right
Oh
now
yeah.
from all over the place. What do you think about that? Like teams being sold to cities and stuff. And I'm from Baltimore originally, so my father always talks about the
Oh,
Colts, and
and that was
what they
terrible.
did to the Colts, and
Yeah, they moved in the middle of the night. They just
yeah,
left. And I think it's terrible because I think it is a community builder. And there's something about sports that it becomes the best part of us, because let's use I'm a Houstonian, a native Houstonian. The Astros the last several years, we're a football town. We think we're a football town and we have a huge baseball problem. But the last several years, all the things that ripped Houston apart, we're like every other city in the country. We have the Democrats, the Republicans, we have the COVID stuff that happened. We have the county judge versus the state senator. We have all the same crap that everyone else has. But when you put the Astros in the World Series against the Yankees, I mean, not, they weren't in the World Series because now we're an American League team, which is a sacrilegious event, but we are an American League team. But you put us, against the Dodgers or against the, I'm telling you what, you have never seen a city come together. Like, I don't care. It's like the letters. I don't care how you voted. I don't care. But if freaking Altuve, hits it out, I mean, we're going to kiss each other right on the mouth. It's going to be the greatest moment of this whole city. And for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, this city comes together, and we're the best version of humanity. We're all
right,
wearing the stuff. We're all rooting for each other. It's us against the whole world, and there's nothing, and that's one thing that sports has the power to do. You look at that 1980 Olympic hockey team,
right,
you talk about unifying an entire country behind an underdog,
right.
and people in Houston, especially because of the whole cheating scandal with the 2017 World Series. I'll tell you what, you come to our town, we'll bang our trash cans right on your freeway. We will come after you with our trash cans and bang them because we like to be unified behind that. And, growing up in Houston, we lost the Oilers to
Right.
Tennessee, and I'll tell you what, you want to see a city get mad? Those Nashville people, those Tennessee Titans put our uniforms on. They put our Houston Oilers uniforms on last year, and this city again went insane. We were like, we will not put up with that as a city.
Right.
We blew up Facebook. And I think it does have that, and Green Bay is a great example because they own their own team.
Right.
The
Yeah.
city and the people own their team. And I think it's unfortunate on one side of the equation when the team moves. Houston's still at a loss for the Oilers. The Ravens can't replace the Colts.
Right. Yeah.
But there's also something good about the city that receives.
Yeah.
Indianapolis is a better town because of the Colts. They're probably a better community of people because of the Colts. So I think there's both sides of that transaction. In Las Vegas, they just got to take everybody.
Yeah, I think the only team we actually created was the Golden Knights, but then we poached a bunch of players to come play for the Knights when that happened. But
Right.
and you can see it too. You kind of see it like because the Raiders are the newer team here. It's people are much more likely to go when I'm outside or I'm at the gym or the grocery store or something, to be like, people are wearing Golden Knights stuff. They're not so much wearing the Raiders stuff. Like it's kind
Right.
of because the Knights were kind of something that was formed in the city instead of brought in from another city or something like that. And we haven't quite warmed up to it. And of course, there's plenty of California transplants and stuff here, so there are some built-in fan base. But I
Right.
think with that recent Steelers game against the Raiders, that was a big thing I saw, where there was way more Steelers fans in the audience than there were Raiders fans. And they were swinging
Yeah.
the terrible towels, and yeah, I mean, it's just interesting how that it takes a little while for that to build up. Or I know, watching the Ravens, the expansion in '96 is like, well, we had a football team we were watching. I remember watching with my dad. And the Ravens were historically not that great until real recently. And my dad would always say, he's like, well, my team doesn't exist anymore. Is that the kind of the saying he would say? Because like the Colts didn't exist. The Baltimore Colts didn't exist anymore. Yeah. And it's just so interesting how that. And I had somebody on here recently, and I asked them a question about that, where, like in kind of fiction, sports for a place for fiction and stuff like that, where it kind of, obviously like Matt Christopher books and stuff that I read as a kid. And just how much, and even playing sports, I played football in high school. I wasn't really good enough to play college level stuff, but it just kind of, what you get from that too, like being a part of a team is kind of like a smaller version of that larger citywide kind of community that you get from the sports teams. And it really is irreplaceable. Like it's kind of like, I guess I want to use the word like brotherhood or something, but I mean, that kind of ignores like all the women's sports and stuff too, but I think you get the same thing from that. If you're playing like women's basketball or something, you're still feeling that camaraderie in the team. Like it is this kind of like you're connected in a way through something almost like letter writing, maybe like weird. So just more of a deeper connection than just, oh, we're working out together, or oh, I'm getting traded to another team or something. It's a little bit, it runs a little deeper than that. And even like the business, the way it's set up with trades or buying teams, moving cities, all this kind of stuff, it kind of ignores that part of it. And you see, like, I like you said, documentary stuff. I like Hard Knocks and all the stuff that they've been doing with the NFL. And when a guy gets traded or something, he's like, oh, it's the business. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. And I get you have to kind of have that attitude about it. But I'm like, I know you're feeling that, like, betrayal. Like, you feel betrayed. Like, like.
And that's one of the things we're seeing with the way college football is changing with the NIL and the, that all that in the transfer portal. It's going to be harder and harder to have that, that team. And you already had eligibility, so it was already gone after 4 or 5 years. But the NFL's changed so much from the salary cap, and then you have this movement where you're not going to have that core group. The coaches are going to be challenged to take this group of people and make them into a team on a much, more. It's going to rotate in and out. It's going to be harder and harder to achieve that, and you're going to be dealing with different kinds of personalities. It's a whole different thing now that's going to have to be managed, and it's going to absolutely change the dynamic of the whole sport for sure.
If you're hearing this, it's because you are listening to the free public feed of Heavy Board. To get complete, uncensored, uninterrupted, full access to this podcast, become a subscriber at patreon.com/heavyboard. That's right, Heavy Board is made possible by subscribers like you. For less than 1 cup of coffee per month, you will receive private access to uncensored, full-length episodes, Jerk Shop, heavy bonus content, subscribers-only AMA episodes, bonus extended interviews, and more. Come join the conversation today at patreon.com/heavyboard.